Hello again guys, and welcome to another Guild Wars 2 lore video. Today I'm going to bring you some lore on the Norn and their interactions with, it's going to be mostly the Char, because in my previous video I talked about how they were expanding before the humans arrived in Tyria. The Char were expanding a lot, and this is going to be a little bit about the Norn and their interactions not only with the Char but with the humans, and where the Norn could have come from, but no one's really sure. Because if you don't know, the Norn aren't just really tall humans. They're not like a special race of humans. They didn't arrive with the humans. They were actually in Tyria before the humans, alongside the time of the Char, and they have separate connections completely to the humans. So they're in no way related to them. But there are other races known as the Kodan, which they could be possibly, but there's actually really no evidence behind that. There is some, but not majorly. But we'll go into that later. But I hope you enjoy this video and like it if you like the lore, and enjoy. Thanks. Now, most people would think that with having the Norn living in the Shiver Peaks and the Char just to the east, that during the time of the Char expansions, when the Char were just conquering all the lands around them, that when the Char came up to the Shiver Peaks, there would be massive clashes, loads of blood, loads of everything. There'd be a massive war because, as you know, the Char, they'll war with anyone they can defeat, and you're there to be conquered to them. But this isn't exactly what happened. When the Char reached the Shiver Peaks, they sent skirmishes against the Norn, but unfortunately the Norn were too strong, and in single battle the Norn would crush Char. But not so completely. The Char and the Norn were on more of an even playing field, and so they both came to respect each other more due to the fact that neither one had an outright victory. The Norn weren't trying to invade the Char lands, and the Char kept getting beat by the Norn. So what happened was the Char and the Norn, they have a mutual kind of understanding. They're watching each other. They're not fighting each other because the Char can't beat the Norn, and the Norn aren't ones to go warring against each other. They have no king, they have no queen. They're not a country as such. They're individuals. But when the Norn band together, so we had this kind of awkward peace between the Char and the Norn, and this was due to a mutual respect. And the Eastern Shiver Peaks has actually been stable for a very long time. There hasn't been any warring for over 200 years between them because they have nothing really to war about. The Char respect Norn as great warriors, and the Norn really have no quarrels with the Char. So they've got a pretty good relationship. And it's even come to the point where the Norn will now allow the Char to pass through the Shiver Peak. And previously the Norn even let the Char pass through the Shiver Peak when they had already conquered Ascalon and now were trying to move into Kryta, and they allowed the Char to pass through into Krytan human lands. And that's not because the Norn had some kind of problem with the humans. It was more like the Norn are staying out of things, and the Norn didn't have any troubles with the Char, and so they allowed them to pass freely. And this will happen around the time of the Searing, when the Char used the power that had been given to them from the Titans to burn Aslan to the ground. And after that they moved on into Kryta and passed through the Shiver Peaks. But this is not to say they are at peace. If a war band happens to go into the Shiver Peaks, or a Norn hunter just happens to go into the Char lands, then game's fair, and the Char will kill that Norn, and the Norns will kill those Char. They have no mutual pact agreement. They are not at peace, but they are not at war. They don't like each other, but neither do they hate each other. But if you come onto their lands, you're going to get killed. So over the past 100 years or so, the Norn have started to spread into Kryta due to the fact of the Elder Dragon that has arose in the far northern Shiver Peaks now, and they've been driven out of their land. So now they're moving down the Shiver Peaks into territory that's not theirs, into Kryta, into the human lands, and now that's why you see them more around the Krytan area. And now even the more experienced hunters of the Norn are being forced down, and they're even going into the old dwarven lands, and now they have new problems coming down south. They have to deal with a lot of dredge, and the dredge and the Norn have actually a really big conflict with each other, and you see that in Guild Wars 2. Wherever there's Norn, there's usually dredge, and they're usually fighting. Originally the dredge were the nemesis of the dwarfs, and now the dwarfs are gone, the Norns moved in, and now they're the nemesis of the Norn. Well, okay, maybe not the nemesis, that would be the Sons of Svanir, but they are quite big enemies. And if you don't know who the Dredge are, they're a race of people who highly resemble moles. I'm sure you've seen them around all the Norn areas. And so this great conflict has been brought up between the Norn and the Dredge because the dwarves turned themselves into stone so they could go underground and fight the destroyers and eventually beat the destroyers. That meant that the Dredge had all this free land to themselves. They didn't have to worry about the dwarves, but now all these Norns have come in, and now the Dredge are fighting for these new lands that they've really only just gained in like the past 100 years. So there's this big conflict now. And then of course you have the interactions between the Norn and the humans. And on the surface, you might think they have a good relationship, but this isn't actually the case. The Norn don't really like the humans, or at least the Norn don't like the human queen because they feel she's a weak leader. But you have to understand the Norn way of life. Norns don't follow one person. But when they look over to the humans and they see they're led by this one queen, but this queen doesn't really lead the people. She listens to advisors and everything she does, and the Norn feel that she's actually quite a weak ruler to the humans because she doesn't act on her own, she's always taking advice from other people. And they feel that her as the leader should be the hero of the people and that she should be the ones leading them into battle, whereas she is actually stays at the back. But that does not mean to say that they have lost hope on the humans. They hope that one day that she'll be able to, man up a bit and rule her people with authority that she has been given. Now, as I mentioned in the introduction, the Norn aren't humans. They are not related to the humans. And it's not clear where the Norn actually come from. But what we do know is that there is a race of bear people, the polar bear people, called the Kodan, if you don't know, who you could say resemble the Norn. They are massive, they are strong, and they're bears, and the Norn can transform into bears for short periods of time. Now, some Kodan do believe that the Norn are the lost tribe of the Kodan and that they have lost their inner balance. The Kodan are like monks. They seek balance in all things and they feel that they are the most balanced in the world. And so some Kodan believe that the Norn are the lost tribe of the Kodan and that they have lost their balance in the world, and this is why they can no longer transform into their natural bear form, whereas the Kodan are, of course, always bears. So a lot of the Kodan have prejudice towards the Norn and feel that they are spiritually lesser than the Kodan. So there is also a conflict between the Kodan and the Norn. And so you kind of see this great race of people, these Norn, these strong people, and you kind of realize why they have to be so strong. Because they're constantly fighting with everyone. They have no true allies because they rely on themselves. They are not a secure nation, and so they defend for themselves, each singular family, each singular person. And so they've become this strong, independent race of people. And they're definitely by far one of my favourite race in Guild Wars 2 because they've got a great lore to them and there's still a lot of mystery to them. You don't know everything about them. And that's really going to be cool to see in later lore releases where we can expand on the Norn history and their culture, and I'm hoping to see a lot more from the Norn. So thank you guys for watching my video, and I hope you may have learned something about the Norn today and maybe a few of the other races. And if you want to see any other lore videos, just leave me a comment and I'll see what I can do for you. Thanks for watching. I've been Plated. Until next time.